Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins have been forced into one of those tough situations that every NFL team dreads. When you lose a superstar like Tyreek Hill, there is simply no way to replace him, no matter how creative your coaching staff might be or how talented your quarterback is. Hill is one of those rare players who can tilt the entire field, who commands attention from every defensive back and defensive coordinator in the league. So when news broke that Hill's season had come to an end because of a knee injury, the Dolphins fan base was hit with that sinking feeling, the one that says, everything we've been building might suddenly look a whole lot different. But Miami wasn't about to sit on their hands and let this season drift away. Instead, they decided to reach back into their past, reconnect with a familiar face, and bring in a player who already knows the building, already knows the offense, and already knows what it means to wear that Dolphins uniform. That player is Cedric Wilson Jr. now. For fans who have followed Miami closely over the last few years, Wilson's name is not new. He signed with the Dolphins in 2022 as an unrestricted free agent coming off his time with the Dallas Cowboys. At the time, there was a lot of optimism about what he could bring to the table. He had shown flashes of being a reliable third option, someone who could stretch the field and also do the dirty work underneath. But then something happened that no one could have predicted when Wilson put pen to paper. Just weeks later, the Dolphins pulled off the blockbuster trade that landed Tyreek Hill. That move shifted everything. Suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on Wilson anymore. Suddenly, the offense was running through Hill and Jalen Waddle, a lightning-fast duo that made Miami one of the most explosive teams in the league. And Wilson? Well, he became a bit of an afterthought. Over 2 years, he recorded just 34 catches and 3 starts. It wasn't bad production, but it wasn't the kind of impact that had been envisioned when he first arrived. Fast forward to 2024, and Wilson had moved on, landing with the New Orleans Saints. There, he carved out a role, catching 20 passes for 211 yards and a touchdown. Nothing earth-shattering, but he proved once again that he could be counted on when called upon. And now, after bouncing around and showing that he still has juice in the tank, Wilson is coming back to Miami. According to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the Dolphins are pulling him off the Saints practice squad, reuniting him with the franchise that once saw him as part of the plan before Hill reshaped the entire picture. And make no mistake about it, this move isn't about Wilson replacing Tyreek Hill, because no one can do that. This is about stability, about familiarity, and about giving Tua Tagovailoa another veteran target who can step in without needing months to learn the offense. When this move becomes official and Hill is placed on injured reserve, the Dolphins will still carry 6 receivers on their 53-man roster. Jalen Waddle immediately becomes the headliner, the man who now shoulders the responsibility of being the number 1 option. Behind him are Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, D. Eskridge, and Taj Washington, alongside Wilson. That's a group with potential, but also plenty of question marks. Malik Washington is still carving out his role. Westbrook-Ikine has size and experience, but has never been a consistent difference maker. Eskridge has speed, but has battled injuries and inconsistency. Taj Washington, a 7th-round pick in 2024, hasn't been active for a single game in his young career. That leaves the Dolphins in need of someone who can be steady, who can pick up first downs, who can make the catch on 3rd and 7 when everyone knows where the ball is going. Wilson might just be that guy. There's also something to be said about the Dolphins' recent strategy of calling back familiar names. Earlier this season, when their backfield was suddenly depleted after Alexander Mattison hit injured reserve and second-year running back Jalen Wright went down with a knee injury, Miami turned back to Jeff Wilson Jr., a running back who already had history with the team. Now, in the wake of Hill's injury, they're doing the same with Cedric Wilson Jr. It's a pattern, one that shows how much this front office values continuity. They know that sometimes the best option isn't the flashy newcomer, but the player who already has trust built up in the locker room, someone who knows what the coaching staff expects on day one. It's a safer bet, and right now, the Dolphins are looking for reliability above all else. Interestingly, Cedric Wilson wasn't the only former Dolphins receiver making headlines this week. Robbie Chosen, another one-time member of the squad, was reportedly close to signing with the Washington Commanders practice squad. River Crocraft, Another familiar name who had strong ties to head coach Mike McDaniel from their days in San Francisco was also on the market after being cut by the Commanders in late August, following a brief stint with the Seattle Seahawks earlier in the offseason. Miami had options among its alumni, but they chose Wilson. That choice says something. It suggests they believe in his ability to step in right now and contribute. It suggests they think he's still got something left that can help steady the ship as they navigate life without their most dangerous weapon. For Tua Tagovailoa, this move might not change everything, but it does help. Tua thrives when he has timing and trust with his receivers. Tyreek Hill gave him that in spades, constantly creating separation and making life easier for his quarterback. Without Hill, Tua needs to lean on rhythm, precision, and trust even more than before. Bringing back Cedric Wilson Jr. gives Tua at least one receiver he's already thrown to, one he already has some chemistry with. It might not produce fireworks, but in a league where the margins are razor thin, that kind of familiarity can mean the difference between a stalled drive and a scoring opportunity. And let's be real, Dolphins fans are nervous, and rightfully so. Losing Hill is a massive blow. He isn't just another player. He's the kind of athlete who dictates coverages, who creates fear in defenses, who forces teams to change their game plans entirely. You don't just replace that with a practice squad signing. But what you can do is try to minimize the chaos, try to bring in pieces that won't make things worse, and try to give your coaching staff as many tools as possible to get creative. Mike McDaniel has already proven himself to be one of the brightest offensive minds in football. If anyone can find ways to maximize what he has left, it's him. Now he gets to work with a receiver group that is still talented, even if not as terrifying without Hill. Waddle, Wilson, and the rest might not scare defenses the way Hill did, but if they execute, and if McDaniel schemes them open, Miami's offense can still function at a high level. It's also worth noting the mental and emotional impact of a move like this. When a team loses a star, the locker room can sometimes deflate. Bringing in a familiar face, a guy that players already know and like, can help stabilize morale. It signals to the team that the front office isn't giving up, that they're still fighting to compete, and that they're willing to make moves to support the guys who are still on the field. Wilson might not post a 1,000-yard season, but his presence can have ripple effects beyond the stat sheet. So here we are, the Dolphins' 2025 season in full swing, reeling from the loss of Tyreek Hill but refusing to fold. Instead, they're doubling down on continuity, bringing back Cedric Wilson Jr. to give themselves another steady pair of hands. The move won't dominate highlight reels, and it won't make Vegas change their odds overnight. But sometimes, it's the subtle adjustments, the quiet moves, that end up making the biggest difference down the stretch. And Dolphins fans know this. The season isn't over. The dream hasn't died. It's just gotten a lot harder, and now, it's time for players like Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson Jr., and the rest of this wide receiver group to write their own story, one without Tyreek Hill leading the way. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The Miami Dolphins have always been a team that thrives on moments of bold moves, calculated gambles, and shifts that redefine the trajectory of a season. And now, if the whispers echoing through the league are to be believed, the Dolphins have just made a move that could very well alter the tone of their defense in ways fans are only beginning to imagine. Enter James Bradberry, the defensive powerhouse whose name has been circulating quietly in locker rooms and front offices over the past few weeks. While some may dismiss this as just another free agent signing, insiders insist that this is more than a roster addition. This is a seismic event in the narrative of the Dolphins' defensive identity. The chatter suggests that Bradberry isn't just any defensive player. He is a disruptor, a catalyst capable of flipping the script on an entire defensive scheme that, until now, has relied heavily on cohesion and consistency over pure, game-changing chaos. Miami's fan base, notoriously demanding and endlessly hungry for headlines, may soon find themselves witnessing a defense that behaves more like an unpredictable storm than a structured wall, and Bradberry is said to be at the eye of it all. Sources close to the Dolphins organization hint that the signing was far from a casual handshake. Rumor has it that Bradberry's acquisition involved meticulous planning, a series of late-night meetings between the front office and defensive coordinators, and an almost obsessive focus on how his unique skill set could be woven into the Dolphins' current defensive fabric. The real intrigue, though, lies in the whispers about Bradberry's impact on younger players. Conversations in Miami suggest that his presence in the locker room could redefine mentorship within the team, with veteran defenders reportedly inspired, and perhaps even a little intimidated, by his work ethic and sheer intensity. This isn't just about someone adding stats to the board. It's about a mentality shift, the kind that could echo throughout the locker room and influence practice habits, pre-game routines, and the psychological approach to each snap. For fans who have grown accustomed to the Dolphins' predictable defensive setups, the mere prospect of a Bradberry-led front or secondary is generating a buzz that borders on electric, sparking endless speculation about what matchups could look like once he's fully integrated. Even on the field, Bradberry's rumored arrival promises dramatic consequences. Analysts who have caught glimpses of his previous work suggest that his approach to coverage, blitzing, and situational awareness is nothing short of transformative. The rumblings indicate that Bradberry is expected to inject a level of aggression into Miami's defensive strategy that has been conspicuously absent in previous seasons. There are murmurs that he thrives in chaos, that his presence alone forces opposing quarterbacks to alter their game plans, second-guess reads, and even abandon plays they might have executed with confidence. In short, he's said to be the kind of player who doesn't just react to the game. He actively shapes it, bending offensive schemes to his will. For the Dolphins, a team hungry to return to playoff prominence, this could be the catalyst that turns a good defense into an elite one, capable of generating turnovers, pressure, and the kind of highlight reel moments that galvanize fan bases and terrify rivals. But it isn't just the technical implications that have people talking. There's an aura surrounding Bradberry, one of quiet intensity that seems to ripple through every locker room he enters. The rumor mill hints that coaches see him as more than a player. He's a psychological weapon. Sources claim that his mere presence in meetings, film sessions, and practice scenarios elevates the performance of teammates, forcing them to match his intensity or risk falling behind. For a team like Miami, which has struggled with consistency at key defensive positions, this could represent a paradigm shift. Imagine a defense where hesitation is replaced with decisiveness, where communication becomes instinctual rather than rehearsed, and where opponents enter the stadium already second-guessing their plans because they know Bradberry is on the field. It's a tantalizing vision, and even the casual observer can sense the ripple effect that such a player could generate across an entire squad. The gossip suggests that this isn't just speculation. Coaches are reportedly recalibrating schemes to maximize Bradberry's disruptive potential, adjusting coverage calls, linebacker alignments, and even special teams rotations with an eye toward exploiting his unique talents. The intrigue only deepens when you consider the timing of this rumored arrival. Some insiders whisper that Miami's front office has been quietly building toward this moment for months, orchestrating trades, managing salary cap flexibility, and positioning draft picks in anticipation of acquiring a player exactly like Bradberry. This has led to rampant speculation that his signing is more than just filling a gap. It's a signal that Miami is redefining its defensive philosophy entirely. Observers in the league, especially rival coaches, are reportedly watching closely, trying to decode what a Bradberry-infused Dolphins defense will actually look like on game day. Will it resemble the disciplined, textbook setups of the past? Or will it transform into a fluid, aggressive, almost unpredictable force that keeps offenses perpetually on edge? The prevailing rumors suggest the latter, with Bradberry positioned as the linchpin of a defensive makeover designed to strike fear and command respect across the league. And then there's the fan reaction, which, according to chatter on social media and insider reports, is electric. Miami fans, notoriously vocal and quick to elevate heroes and villains alike, are already spinning scenarios in their minds, imagining game-changing interceptions, critical sacks, and decisive fourth-quarter stops orchestrated by Bradberry's hands-on, on-field leadership. Merchandise speculation has even started to surface, with jerseys bearing his name rumored to be in high demand even before he has taken the field. This buzz is precisely what the Dolphins' marketing team dreams of, the kind of energy that not only fills stadiums, but also permeates online communities, generating engagement, debate, and anticipation on a scale that few other acquisitions could achieve. And yet, Despite all the excitement, there's an undercurrent of caution. Those close to the Dolphins warn that while Bradberry has the potential to reshape the defense, integrating a player of his caliber requires more than just skill. It demands cohesion, patience, and a shared understanding between him and his new teammates. A delicate balance that Miami will need to manage carefully to ensure the buzz translates into results on the field. What's perhaps most compelling about the rumors surrounding Bradberry's arrival is how it feeds into the broader narrative of the Dolphins' ambitions. Miami hasn't been content with mediocrity for years now, and every move they make seems designed to signal a larger strategy. Win now, build a team that can dominate both on the scoreboard and in headlines, and cultivate a culture that intimidates as much as it inspires. Bradberry, if the whispers prove true, fits perfectly into that narrative. He's the type of player whose influence extends far beyond tackles and pass deflections. He's a statement. Every late hit, every perfectly timed interception, every moment of chaos that disrupts an opposing offense reinforces the image of a team willing to invest in both talent and temperament, the kind of calculated risk that could define seasons rather than games. And with the Dolphins' playoff aspirations hanging in the balance, it's easy to see why speculation about his arrival has turned into a full-blown conversation among analysts, fans, and even rival coaches, all wondering how the landscape of the league might shift once Bradberry steps onto the field wearing aqua and orange. Ultimately, the story of Bradberry and the Dolphins is one still being written, with rumors serving as both foreshadowing and fanfare. If what insiders are saying proves true, Miami's defense is on the cusp of a transformation, a move that could shift momentum, intimidate quarterbacks, and perhaps even redefine the team's identity for years to come. But as with all great sports narratives, the proof will lie not in speculation, not in whispers or social media chatter, but in the split-second plays that leave fans cheering, commentators scrambling, and rival teams scrambling to adjust. For now, the Dolphins' locker room buzzes with anticipation, the rumor mill spins relentlessly, and the league watches with bated breath. James Bradberry may not yet have set foot on the field in Miami, but according to every hint, murmur, and insider source, his arrival is already reshaping the conversation, promising a new era of defense in a city that thrives on drama, intensity, and the sheer thrill of the game. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.